Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum. All right, very good. I was asked to tell you guys a story for the next 20-30 minutes, and I'm going to see how well you guys can pay attention. Now, the story I'm going to tell you, some parts of it you already know. And when you hear the parts you already know, you're going to have a feeling. And that feeling is going to be, I know this part. So, I want you to fight that feeling and hold it in until I ask you guys questions. And when I ask you questions, what are you going to do?
Answer.
No, that's not what you're going to do. Anybody else? Yes. You're going to put your hand up, but there's no point putting your hand up and speaking at the same time. Then there's no point in putting your hand up. So if you say, I know the answer, pick me, then I can't pick you. So you have to be silent and just raise your hand and I'll give you a chance to speak, okay? But then there will be other times where I want you to say something and all of you have to answer at the same time. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Or is that clear? Okay, it'll become clearer. Okay. So the story, a little bit of the story that I want to tell you happened many thousands of years ago. And it's a story that starts with Yusuf alayhi salam. Okay? Now Yusuf, I know you know. Okay, I got you. Okay.
I'm Yusuf.
So Yusuf alayhi salam, he, later on in his life, he got a really good job working for a king. And he was, he was the most important person almost in the country. Like the only one above him in the country was the king himself, right? And he was in charge of making sure that everybody gets fed, all the security, all the police, all the schools, everybody reported to him. He was in charge, right? And he brought his family over, because they used to live in another country, his family. But eventually he brought his family and they started living in the same place as him in the kingdom of Egypt. Okay, so let me ask you the first question. Which prophet am I talking about and where did he live? Oh my God, don't raise hands. Yes?
He lives in Egypt.
Yusuf alayhi salam in what country?
Egypt.
And what did he do there? He was yes?
He worked for the king.
He worked for the king. Very good. And what did he do? What did I tell you so far that's happened? Yes?
Me?
Uh-huh.
So he make sure that everyone the police and
That, but he did something. Yeah.
help people.
He did, but it's something else I said. Let's see if anybody remembers. Do you remember? No? You?
He let everyone, fed everyone the food.
There's something more. Yes? Yep, he brought his family from another country all the way to where?
Egypt.
To Egypt. And because he was right under the king, he got them all really nice houses. His brothers came. His brothers had wives and children. They all came. His parents came, and they all started living in what country? Egypt. But they were not from Egypt. And his family, their grandpa, the grandpa's name was Israel. What was his name? Israel. And his sons became the sons of Israel. The sons of Israel. So the sons of Israel started living in what country?
Egypt.
In Egypt. Okay. So when they started living in Egypt, later on, they had children, and those children grew up, and they got married, and they had kids, and then those kids grew up, and they got married, and they had kids. So 100 years went by, 200 years went by, 300 years went by, and now those sons of Israel, remember those sons of Israel? Their kids and their grandkids and their grandkids, now there were thousands and thousands of them living in which country?
Egypt.
In Egypt. Okay, so all of them were called the children of Israel. But were they from Egypt? No, they were from somewhere else. They had moved to Egypt because of who?
Yusuf alayhi salam.
Good, very good, because of Yusuf alayhi salam. Okay? Now, what happened then is The king, you know what happens with kings? When kings, like you guys just had a queen pass away, so what happened?
Another king.
From her family, right? So King Charles takes over. And then one day somebody will take over from King Charles. And then one day from that person, and it stays in the same family, right? So that's how kings and queens pass on. So the kings kept passing on in the same family until there was some kind of a war and the kings lost their country. And a new king came. He wasn't from that family. New kings took over, okay? In what country was this war? Again, I'm forgetting. I keep forgetting. Egypt. Very nice. And these new kings, they were called the pharaohs. What are they called? The pharaohs. So the pharaohs wanted, now that Egypt is theirs, they're the new kings, they don't like anything that the old kingdom used to have. So in the old kingdom, the children of Israel, the sons of Israel, or Israel, they used to have a good life, and they were really important people. And the old kings used to like them. But the new king says, nope, the old king used to like them. That must mean I have to what? I have to hate them. I don't like these people. So he takes them out of their homes, because he used to have nice houses, nice schools, all of that. He takes them out from there, and he puts them in, all the way, they used to have a river, and they made like these ugly huts and like really bad kinds of homes, and he stuck them all in there. Thousands and thousands of them used to start living in huts, like really poor people, almost like they were homeless. And then he put a kind of a security fence around them. So if they had to leave that area, they had to go through the soldiers and then they could go out. And they couldn't run away from that country because on the one side were all the soldiers and on the other side was the river. So if they said, maybe we'll just cross the river and we'll escape, right? So we don't have to deal with this king anymore. Well, the problem with the river was, once you get in the river, it goes downstream. And when it goes downstream, it goes right by the palace of the king. So the soldiers are going to catch you. You get it? So the sons of Israel, the thousands and thousands of them, they got stuck in Egypt. Now they were basically imprisoned, right? And so what the king then did, those times, what they did with these sons of Israel is they used to beat them up, and they used to say, you have to help us build our castles and our roads, and you have to clean the streets. They used to make them do all the hard work and barely even pay them one time to eat. That's what they did with them. So they treated them very, very badly. When you get a job, you're supposed to get paid, right? But the thing is, they were kept as slaves. So even when they did their job, the boss would say, I don't feel like paying you. What are you going to do? Well, no, but I have a right to get paid. No, you don't. You're from the sons of Israel. You people have no rights. Now go back. Go back to your jail cell. That's how they were treated for generation after generation after generation. So, this is the sons of Israel. They are living now captured in what country? Egypt. In Egypt. And it's pretty bad for them. Life is pretty bad for them, right? By the way, they are children. Go further back, their great-great-great-great-grandfather was Ibrahim alayhi salam. So they were Muslim. They were actually Muslim. But the pharaohs, obviously, they were not Muslim, right? So then what happens next is the pharaoh, the king, as he was getting old, he starts having nightmares, okay? And you know what nightmare he has? He has a nightmare that a baby from the sons of Israel is going to come and he's going to destroy his kingdom. So he started having nightmares about what? About a baby. Have you guys seen Kung Fu Panda?
Yes.
Have you seen Kung Fu Panda 2?
Yes.
Do you remember the peacock?
Yes.
Some of you yes, some of you no. Those of you that have no, just make istighfar, it's okay. When the peacock used to see a dream, or actually, Poe himself used to see a dream, remember? And the peacock had a vision that a creature of black and white is going to come, remember? And he was afraid. So they copied that part of the story from this story. The Pharaoh used to see a dream that one of these Israelites is going to rise up and he's going to destroy the kingdom. So he used to get really scared of the baby boys of the sons of Israel. because he thought one of them will one day become a leader and he's going to destroy his kingdom. So he came up with a really terrible solution. He said, I need these baby boys because when they grow up, they become my slaves. So I get them to do the work. But I can't have too many of them. Because if I have too many of them, they might one day say, hey, we don't want to be treated like this. We don't want our mom to be treated like this. We don't want our dad to be treated like this. We're going to fight back. You can't treat us like this anymore, right? So they could start a war. So if there's too many of them. So he came up with a solution, and his solution was every few years, he would tell his soldiers, go, and if there's any new baby boys, throw them in the river. That's what he told them. That was his way of solving the problem of his nightmare. Okay? So now, I'm going to pause for a second because I want you to know how far we got. The story started with which prophet? Show of hands only. All the way in the back. Yusuf alayhi salam. Very good. What's your name? Muhammad. Good job. Yusuf alayhi salam. Who brought who to where? Who did he bring and where did he bring them? Yes. What's your name?
Yusuf.
Oh, you better know. Who did he bring? Who did Yusuf bring? Do you remember? Do you remember?
Yes.
Very nice. What's your name? Huh? Noura. Excellent job, Noura. He brought his family to Edinburgh. No, Egypt. Okay, he brought them to Egypt. And life was good. Then how did life start becoming bad for the sons of Israel? How in the world did that happen? Yes.
Because something happened with the family of the kings and queens, and then the war happened, and then they got a new king.
They got a new king, and so what's your name? Ibrahim, and you got excited and cut Ibrahim off, but that's still okay. What's your name? Aisha. Good job. Okay. So then the new kings came, and they don't like who? They don't like the children of Israel. So they turned them into what? Slaves. They turned them into slaves. Why can't the slaves escape? How come they're stuck? Yes.
Because on one side there's soldiers, and on the other side there's river. We can't go because there's a stream, and that leads to the palace
where all the soldiers are. So they're stuck, right? And the only time they come out is to do the work, like slaves. And then they go back into those huts. Now, when the king ordered that I want all the babies this year, all the newborn baby boys need to be killed. Okay? So the soldiers started coming into the village. And everybody was scared, like they're going to kill babies. And there was one woman who used to live right by the river, and she had just had a baby. And the baby used to cry really, really loud. And you know what's going to happen if the soldiers hear the baby crying loud? What's going to happen? They're going to break the door, because they're listening for what? What are they listening for? They're listening for babies. So if they hear the baby crying, they're going to break in the door, and they're going to take this baby, and what are they going to do? Throw him in the river. And by the way, there used to be crocodiles in the river. Okay? So now this mom is terrified that the soldiers are coming. She could hear the noise outside. She could hear the soldiers are getting closer and closer. And all of a sudden, Allah put a thought in her heart. Allah said to her, feed the baby. Feed the baby. So she started feeding the baby. While there's chaos outside, what's she doing? Feeding the baby. And when the baby's drinking and having food, what is it not doing? It's not crying. So the soldiers kind of walked by and said, there's no baby here. Let's keep going. But they might come back, right? So then Allah put another thought in her heart. Allah told her, you should take this baby, and you see that basket over there? Put the baby in the basket, and then take the basket and put it in the river. And then Allah told her, I promise you, inna radduhu ilayki. We promise you we're going to give him back to you. I promise the baby will be brought back to you. That's what the mom was told. Do you think it's easy to put a baby in the water?
No.
No. Maybe your sister or something. You're like, I don't like her. I want to put her in the water. But have you guys ever gone to the beach?
Yeah.
When you get too close to the water, what does your mom do? Come back! Get Get over here. This isn't it. And sometimes your dad takes you and he goes inside the water. And what does your mom do? Says, bring him back. You go drown. I don't care about you. Just bring the baby back. Moms get scared of babies near the water. Sometimes moms give their babies a bath, right? And they fill the bathtub with water, but they put so little water, even the baby's like, seriously. Okay, it's too dangerous, right? But Allah put in her heart, what should she do? She should take the basket, put the baby in it, and put the baby in the
soldiers. River.
The soldiers are on the other side. So they're not paying attention to the river, are they? And even if they see the river, they're just going to see a basket covered with a blanket. Right? But what's inside the river? Something dangerous?
Crocodile.
Oh. And does the river stay still, or does the river keep moving?
Keep moving.
So if you put the basket in the river, what's going to happen to the basket? You guys saw Kung Fu Panda, right?
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the first Kung Fu Panda, there was a basket.
Yeah, and then it started flying because of the wind.
Right? With Po in it. They stole that from this story. It's in the Quran, actually. So, the basket starts going down the river. But there's only one problem with the basket going down the river. Where is it going to go?
To the king.
To the palace. And the order to kill all the babies, where did it come from?
The king.
The king. And the baby's going to the king. But Allah promised the mom what's going to happen.
She's gonna get her baby.
The baby's going to come back. So she trusts Allah's promise. But this looks like he's going to die. How's this baby going to survive? So what happened is the basket's coming down. And the queen, not the king, but the queen, she was sitting by the river. And she was just looking out, staring at the water. And she sees what? She sees a basket. And she tells her soldiers, bring me that. And so they grab the basket and they bring it to her. And she opens the basket and what's there? Baby. It's a baby. And she didn't have a baby. She wanted to have a baby, but she didn't have a baby. And all of a sudden she's like, oh my God, I have a baby. And he's so cute. And she loved this baby. And so she grabbed the baby and the soldier said, ma'am, I believe it's one of the babies we're supposed to, she said, what did you say? I'm the queen. Get out of my face. So they can't say anything to her because she's what?
The queen.
She's the queen. Now in the meantime, the king was inside his office, inside the king's office, and he was telling all the generals, so how many have we killed so far? How are the plans going? He was having his meeting, right? And what does she do? She grabs the baby and she walks into the king's office. And she takes the baby and she puts it right in front of the king. And she says, isn't he cute? Can we keep him? Come on, we should keep him. We should pretend he's our own baby. Or at least, if you don't want to keep him as our own baby, maybe he could just help around the house. Help around the palace. Can we please keep him? But what's the king supposed to do with all these new babies? He's supposed to kill them. But the baby was so cute. And Allah even says, وَأَلْقَيْتُ عَلَيْكَ مَحَبَّةً مِنِّي. Allah put a special love on this baby from him, that even when the Pharaoh, the king, saw the baby, he fell in love with him. And he couldn't, he was such a mean king, he was okay with killing children. And then he saw this baby and he's like, okay, fine, you can keep him. So now the baby's safe. And the baby is now living with the who? With the king. But Allah's promise was not that he's going to be safe. What was Allah's promise? Anybody remember Allah's promise?
The mother.
It's going to go back to the mother. So what happens after maybe an hour later, the baby starts crying. And when the baby starts crying, what are you supposed to do?
Feed him.
Feed the baby. So the queen tried to feed the baby. The baby said, nah, haram. Don't want it. Then he didn't say it. No, I'm saying that. That's creative insertion. Okay.
How does he say that when he's a baby?
He probably said, bleh. That's what he said. Yeah. So then she brought other women. Can you feed this baby? Can you feed this baby? Can you feed this baby? And nobody can feed this baby. And he's crying louder and louder and louder. Now this is becoming a problem. Because if the baby doesn't eat, what's going to happen to the baby? The baby's going to die. So the queen said, go find me anybody who can feed this baby. I don't care where you find them. So all these ladies that used to serve in the palace, now they start running out looking for somebody who can feed a baby. In the meantime, the mom, remember the mom? Yeah. Who put her baby where? In the basket. She had another child. She had an older daughter. The daughter was like 9, 10 years old, like one of you. Okay? And so, but that 10-year-old was really smart. She was super, super smart. So the mom told her, listen, I want you to follow the basket along the river. Okay? But don't tell anyone. Don't look at the basket straight and say, oh my God, that's like my brother. He's so cute, right? Because if she says that's my brother, what are the soldiers going to do? So she has to pretend that she's just la 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 la, but keep an eye on the basket. So she follows the basket until the basket ends up inside the palace. But the girl can't go inside the palace. She's stuck outside. So she's like, okay, I'm just going to wait here. Let's see what happens. And then from the inside, these women came out. We need someone to feed a baby. We need someone to feed the baby. And who was standing outside the palace? The little girl. And she said, hey, I know a lady, she's pretty good. She's really good with babies. Who's she talking about? But she didn't say it's the mom. She just said, I know somebody. I think I know the right person for this. So she's like, okay, let's go. So they went and they got her and they brought her to the palace. And the queen looked at her and said, can you feed this baby? And she says, yeah, I could do that. I think I could do that. And then she started feeding the baby, and the baby was happy. And the queen said, well, you're not going back home. You're going to live here now because you need to take care of this baby. You are the full-time nanny for this baby. We're going to give you a room in this palace. You can bring your kids here. You can live here, and you're going to be like a second mom to this baby. She's the first mom. So she was, but now she acted like she's the second mom, right? And then the boy that was supposed to be, killed and drowned, Allah had him raised inside. Now, I got to leave you guys, but before I do, I'm just going to tell you one thing. One lesson. That was the story, but I didn't give you any lessons. I'm going to just give you one lesson. What did the mom tell the daughter? Yeah. Aisha, what?
To keep following the baby in the river. Like, don't be like, oh, that's my brother.
But she didn't say that. All she said was follow him. All she said was what? Follow him. And you know what the girl didn't do? The girl didn't say, like, follow him like what? You want me to, like, swim or something? I don't understand. Follow him, Mom. He's in the river. Did the girl figure out herself that she has to go along the side of the river? Yeah. She figured it out herself. Did the mom have to tell her 100 times, put your shoes on? No, socks first. Now go follow. Keep your eye on him. Be smart about it. Did the mom have to say any of that? All the mom said was what? Follow him. And the rest of it, who figured it out by themselves? The girl. And when she got to the palace, did she say, oh, well, I guess my brother's gone now. I'm just going to go back home. I finished the sandwich I started. Or did she stay there and waited a little bit? But the mom didn't tell her to stay. She figured that out by who? By herself, right? The reason I'm telling you that is because sometimes your parents tell you to do something. And you're like, what do you mean? They're like, do the dishes. How many? What am I supposed to do? Do you use soap? Or how do you want me to scrub it with my socks? What do you want? I don't understand. It's so complicated. You know what the Quran is telling us about kids? The Quran is telling us about kids that kids are really, really smart. And if you just get a little bit of instruction, you can figure the rest of it out by yourself. And it doesn't mean that you have to be adults to figure things out by yourself. Even at your age, you can figure a lot out by yourself, right? So you have to now, sometimes your mom has to tell you something how many times? When dinner's ready. Aisha, dinner's ready. Dinner's ready. I said dinner's ready. Oh my God. Don't make me say it again. Aisha. Did I just say dinner? You know what? There's no dinner for you. And then 5 hours later you show up. Is dinner ready? I'm hungry. Like, I didn't hear you. Oh my God. You know why? Because sometimes kids forget that parents shouldn't have to repeat themselves. How many times do they have to say something? And do they have to say it with a lot of details or just a little bit? They should have to say something just a little bit, and you and I as their kids, if my mom says something, my dad says something, even as an adult, and you as kids, if our parents tell us something, they should say very little, and we should be able to figure the rest out ourselves and follow later or immediately. So the girl didn't say, okay, Mom, I know you're saying follow the river, but like, I just finished my homework and my favorite show is on right now. And can I just take 5 minutes, just 5 minutes, okay? If she did that, what would have happened?
The baby wouldn't get to eat.
Exactly. So that whole plan that Allah made, that only worked because that little girl did what she was supposed to do, isn't it? So you being smart and you following instructions and you figuring things out by yourself can be a really, really big deal. It can change entire kingdoms. By the way, that boy ended up becoming the one who challenged the king, and then the king finally did drown and lose his throne. That was Musa alayhi salam. Okay? No, that was, well, not quite. But yeah, close. But that's the little bit of the story that I wanted to share with you today. I know it's over time, so if you guys have any questions, I'll take your questions now. Otherwise, goodbye. I want to go eat a sandwich. Yes?
What was the mom's name?
The Quran doesn't tell her her name. Allah tells her about her that she's called the mother of Musa. The Old Testament, the Bible, says her name is Jochebed, which is in Hebrew, Jochebed, which actually means tough-hearted. And that makes sense because she was really tough-hearted because she was able to put her baby in the water, right? And she was tough enough not to give the secret up that that's actually my baby. So she was a tough lady.